Here we go. All right. Uh, so hello everyone. This is our third episode in the series that we have on different topics. The AMAs. Today we have Carlos Redlich. This is how you pronounce your name. Am I
Uh,
correct?
it's Red Lick, as if there was a K, but
Okay.
most people
Uh,
say Red Lich. I'm used to it.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. No. Yeah. So today we have Carlos Redlich with us. Carlos. A quick brief about Carlos is. So he runs a Shopify, a Facebook group on Shopify, which is Shopify Masters. Apart from that, he's a copywriter. He runs a couple of courses, and the most recent, if I can look at his LinkedIn, he's with Direct Response Market. He's a Direct Response marketer with Undisputed Marketing, which I believe is his own venture. And then he's in Shopify ecosystem from last 3 4 5 years, if I'm not wrong. And then he has worked with different niches and finally started his own copywriting business. That's where uh, he trained different businesses, not just in Shopify. I believe he's beyond Shopify, like general e-commerce. So that's a quick brief that I have. I'll leave it to I'll hand over the baton to Carlos, and he can do a quick introduction better than what I did here.
Sure. Well, hey, thank you so much for having me here. I appreciate it. It's an honor to be in front of all your people. I know you've got like 5,000 plus people this is going to, so that's really a lot of freaking people. So kudos to you guys for being able to build up such a cool audience. So some of the stuff that you said is absolutely true, and I guess I'll just elaborate on it a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
So my name's Carlos Redlich. I started out as a gun for hire copywriter. So different companies would hire me. I've worked with Agora, Chris Record, some of the biggest either marketing gurus or big marketing companies you've heard of. I've probably written copy for them. And then when I started writing a lot for them, obviously some things worked, some things didn't, and I got to get a really good understanding of what models work best. And so once I figured that out, I just started doing it myself. My girlfriend Tiffany and I went from writing copy for other people to saying, well, you know what, if it's working for them, maybe we can do it also. And so we started doing our own stuff, from training copywriters to also then selling different products like necklaces and all these different little e-commerce based things. But what we figured out is we wanted to create a recurring membership model, because a lot of e-commerce, and I don't want to get too far into this, but a lot of e-commerce stores will usually be like a front-end revenue type of business. And that's cool. You can make a good amount of money like that. But the best thing, in my opinion, is having them continue to buy from you over and over and over again. And not because you're sending out an email reminding them to buy, but because they're part of a subscription model that's going to bill them every single month. When you do this, it creates sustainability and something very consistent in your income. And so that's some of the stuff that we do for ourselves. And now we started helping some of our clients do the same thing.
That's wonderful. Yeah. So the way we'll go about this call is we have collected a few questions around copywriting and how businesses can get help with copywriting, and how they can get a higher conversion with copywriting along with their ads and everything. So we have a set of questions that I'll be asking to you during this call, and then we can have a discussion on this question. Does that sound
Perfect.
good?
I love it.
Perfect. Yeah. So let's start with the first question that is very common, and I would probably say like a lot of people don't even understand the difference between. So like, how do you being a copywriter? I'm sure you feel very odd when someone kind of mix copywriting and content writing, right? So let's just talk about the main difference between copywriting and content writing, and where do you see these two pieces fitting in the e-commerce, or per se say Shopify ecosystem? Where do you see they fit in Shopify ecosystem, or in general e-commerce businesses, for e-commerce businesses? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So that's a really interesting question. It's a good question too. A lot of people do get confused with content writing and copywriting and stuff. And I'll give you at least my version of what the difference is. So content writing is not geared towards generating a sale. It's not geared towards getting any kind of specific action, whether that's to get a sale or to get a lead or whatever. All it's really there for is to have content, to have information out in the universe, right? So think of it like just a typical blog. I am drinking some probably very unhealthy energy drink right here. So I'm drinking this energy drink, right? But if I was going to be a content marketer about this, what I would do and be a content writer, I would write a blog article about the 3 benefits of drinking this specific type of energy drink. I wouldn't have a call to action necessarily. I wouldn't have anything. Just here's the 3 things. And wow, that's really cool info. A copywriter would maybe write those 3 things and say, if you want to get your bottle for half off, click here. And by adding that call to action at the end, they've now transitioned from being more of a content writer to a copywriter because they're trying to push someone to take an action. So the biggest difference is one version, right? The content writers, they're geared towards literally just what it says, giving you content and nothing else. Copywriters are there to persuade and influence and create an action.
So just to sum up, like, I mean, if I understood it correctly, content writing is more about providing the information and educating people. On the other hand, copywriting is more about, yes, it does educate people, but at the same time, it persuades people to take action and more like sales-driven. Is that
absolutely correct? That's exactly it. Yep.
All right.
And you know, there's a place for this in, and I want to just elaborate a little bit more so people get a good idea of this, where they can use both. There's a lot of copywriters. I'm a copywriter. A lot of copywriters will you know, not consider content writing a big deal or not important, but that's actually very incorrect. If you're running some kind of business, whatever it is, but let's say we're selling energy drinks in this case, well, you want to make sure that you've got some really cool blog articles talking about the benefits of all these things. And I'll tell you why. Because now you can do a 2-part campaign. I don't want to take this too over everybody's head, but you can do a 2-part campaign here. You can start now driving traffic from your Facebook ads, your YouTube ads, your Pinterest ads, whatever you're doing, to that content piece where there is 0 call to action. Now, what's going to happen? I'll tell you what will most likely happen. You're going to get a lot of people to actually click over and read that because there's 0 pitch. There's nothing you're asking for them. All you're doing is showing them the benefits of drinking whatever energy drink in this case, right? Now, because we have the power of the internet and pixels and retargeting, what you can do is not even ask people to opt in. You have 0, any of that. All you do is send traffic to that site, get them educated, and then retarget them with your copywriting piece, telling them, hey, remember that article? Go buy this now for half off. And now you're doing, you know, what I like to call a little 1-2 punch if you're a boxer or martial artist, because you're hitting them with the 1 punch where you're just giving them some value and educating them. And then behind the scenes, you retarget those people who now are interested and now are aware and informed about your product and asking them to go buy it for free plus shipping or whatever it might be, right? So it's very important to not forget about the content writing piece. It's very important. And if we can marry copywriting and content writing, it's just going to make it much more powerful.
All right, that's wonderful. Yeah, I mean, combining copywriting with content writing and then using the power of internet like retargeting and all the other means, I think that's a perfect funnel that one can create to educate, sell, and then bring them back again.
I love this so much. Can I jump in a little bit more? Okay. So
yeah, sure, please.
So here's something else you can do. It's a dirty little secret. I love using those. Dirty little secret here we're going to use. So one thing you can do is on that content piece, right? If it's a blog article, for example, well, one thing that blog article can have is a video of you drinking your energy. I'm using the energy drink obviously as an example, but you can, you know, using the energy drink, you can have a video of the person talking about this and drinking it and showing the effects, but not even having a call to action. Now, the reason you would want to do that is because you would do that video, upload it on Facebook, then take the embed code, put it on your landing page, and now you can retarget people who visited the site, but you can also now retarget people who have viewed that video and how much of it. So if someone has watched 50% of your 2-minute video, they're pretty qualified to get your deal, right? I mean, that's not a bad thing. And so you can retarget the viewers with an even more special offer. So now you get again, another little 1-2 punch. You have the retargeting from the landing page, but now you're being sneaky and retargeting even more qualified people who've seen the video, you know, 50%, 75%, etc.
That's amazing. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a dirty little secret out there. Yeah. Yeah, that's wonderful. Like, I mean, I think that's something that I also haven't tried. Even like, I mean, I wouldn't say I'm a pro at Facebook ads, but yes, I do try my hands now once in now and then. Like, I mean, but then the problem is like, because I am not pro at it, I normally go by the standard practices and everything, and that's when that's what I believe separate a pro Facebook ad marketer and the common group, right? So probably I would
Right.
say I belong to that common group right now, but these little dirty secret can help me jump from this ship to that ship. Yeah.
Absolutely. And listen, I'm not a professional Facebook ad guru or any of that stuff, but if
Mhm.
you understand marketing, one of the basics about marketing is getting your offer, that compelling offer, in front of somebody as many
Mhm.
times as possible, assuming they're the right type of person. And
Mhm.
so when you think about that concept and you just take it back and you say, okay, well, this is what we have to do. We have to get this content piece in front of them and somehow get our other promotion in front of them. Let's see what tools are available to us in
Mhm.
2021. Okay, that means remarketing, Facebook videos. Once you start thinking of the overall concept, that's really the biggest and most important part of it. You think of the strategy, and then the tools you use to fulfill that strategy will always change, but it doesn't mean the strategy necessarily changes. It's just the
Right.
tools to accomplish the end result.
All right. All right. So now that we have talked about the difference between content writing and copywriting, so let's go a step further and talk about the uses of content writing on website landing pages and content writing for, say, ads, be it Google ads or Facebook ads or any other type of ads, right? So
Yeah.
when approaching these two categories, because these two are totally different, like when it comes to landing pages, you have a leeway wherein like you can go in a bit in detail because you have space for that, right? But when it comes to ads, you're limited in number of characters, words, whatever you want to call it, right? So
Mm.
for these two category, as a copywriter, let's say if you have to work on a particular product, let's take this example of energy drink that you're having right now. So how do you, as a copywriter, how do you approach when you have to write a copy for a landing page versus an ad that goes on, say, Facebook or say a Google ad? Yeah.
Cool. So I'll give you two formulas
Yeah.
actually.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start with a Facebook ad, for
Mm-hmm.
example, right? In the Facebook ad, it's very simple. It's like a two-step formula, and
Yeah.
then I'll elaborate on it. So okay, two steps. Step one, yes phrase or yes question. Step two, call to action. For example, want more energy? That's a yes question.
Yes, question.
Click
Yeah.
here to get this energy drink for free. Just cover shipping and handling. Very
All right.
short, very to the point, but that's the formula I use. Yes question, call to action. Now we have to also be careful with compliance issues. You don't want to say, do you want an energy drink? You can't say things like that, but rephrasing it a little with a want this, click here to get it type of deal, that works really well.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for the landing pages, it's actually very similar to that, except it's a little bit longer. So instead of being 2 steps, it's 5 steps. The
Uh-huh.
5 steps are, and these can change depending on what you're selling, but for the most part, physical products don't need a lot of copy to sell. They
Mm-hmm.
just need a few pieces of copy in there, and that's about it, right? Because the value is in the actual physical product itself.
Absolutely.
When you're selling a PDF or a video course or something like that, it
Mm-hmm.
generally requires more long copy because you're selling air. You're really just selling an idea, a
Mm-hmm.
concept, but physical stuff is much easier to sell, which means you don't necessarily need the most copy in all cases, right? Or in some cases. But okay, so the 5 steps, and I'll give an example of these in a little. But 5 steps, real quick, is step 1 is a yes phrase or a yes question. Step 2 is a story to relate with the reader.
Uh-huh.
Step 3, the big aha moment or the discovery of the product or solution.
Uh-huh.
Step 4, call to action, or step 4, suggest a solution, I'm sorry. And then
Mm-hmm.
step 5 is call to action. So let me give you an example with
Yeah.
this. I'll freestyle it. Okay, need more energy? Yes.
Yeah.
That's a yes question.
Yes, sir.
My name's Carlos. Now we're going to step 2, a
Story
story
part.
to relate. My name's Carlos Redlick. Every day when I go to work, my eyes are always closing because I'm exhausted from the night before. I can't get enough sleep, or I can't get any more sleep than I already do. And so I was looking for a solution on how to stay awake during my work hours, right? Let's say that's my story. That's the
Yep.
big problem I'm identifying too, trying to stay awake.
Yep.
Now, step 3 is the big aha moment or the introduction of this sucker, of this solution. But then something crazy happened. My friend Jonathan came over and said, hey, if you're falling asleep at the table, you've got to try this amazing XYZ energy drink. You're going to love it, and it's also going to wake you up in 2 seconds. It's the best thing ever. It's like the best thing since sliced bread. Oh my gosh, that's crazy, right? That's the big aha moment. Now we go to step 4, where you suggest the solution. This is very important because if you don't do this, it's going to sound like you're just shoving this down someone's throat and they're not going to want it. But this way, it's and I'll give you an example. So suggest a solution now. But now so we said, if you want it, you're going to want to get this thing. It's going to wake you up. Now listen, this energy drink has worked for hundreds of people. Heck, it's actually worked for thousands of people all across the world. Maybe it'll work for you too. Oh man, I hope it works for me now. That's what I'm telling myself. Step 5, call to action. But there's only one way to find out. Go ahead, click the button on this page, fill in your billing details, and we'll mail it to you securely within a week or 2 weeks, or whatever the heck it is, right? Now, that's all you really need. And then at the bottom of the page, it's not in the 5 steps. Those are the 5 steps right there, right? That's really the main body copy. But at the bottom of the page, you want to make sure you include a frequently asked questions section. In the frequently asked questions section, we want to talk about basic things. How much is it? What am I getting? How long is it going to take to get to me? How long until I see or feel the results? And is there a guarantee? What happens if it sucks, right? Those are the 5 things most people care about, right? And then you have a little guarantee badge that you have a 30-day or 60-day money-back guarantee. And that's about it. That's really all you really need. Now, there's some tricks and hacks and stuff. I'll give you one of them. When people add your product to their cart, or if you're using ClickFunnels and they fill out a 2-step order form, whatever it is, you want to make sure you've got a countdown timer in there that says this will stay in your cart for the next 7 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever, because that's going to push them to want to take action.
Absolutely.
The other thing you want to make sure you hook up is Twilio, or at least some kind of text messaging service, because I personally get more responses from people responding to my text messages than I do my emails. And I'm a marketer, I'm an email copywriter, I love copywriting, but you know what? Text messages tend to work a lot better for me. So you want to get that as well. But once you have those elements, those 5 steps are really going to be all you need to write the copy on the landing page, insert the frequently asked questions, and make sure you got a guarantee.
All right. So you just mentioned a really great point in there in your description. So that adding a timer on the page, say 7 minutes, 10 minutes, or say 15 minutes, right? My question as a person who spends a lot of time on internet, like every second person nowadays use this timer on the landing page. So do you think that scarcity that we actually trying to implement here and reduce here, that works? Like, I mean, do not like, is it actually like that is something working for people, or nowadays people are so smart that they understand now it is just a way to kind of make me take action?
So I might say something a little controversial, but I don't think it's that controversial. Most marketers know this. A person is smart. You are smart. I think I'm smart. A person is smart. People are stupid. So the general population, probably not going to affect it. But there are places where it will. So I'll give you an example. If you're selling in the marketing space and the copywriting space and the internet marketing space, that specific market is going to be much more savvy. So when you use those tricks, it's not going to work, at least not nearly as well. Same thing like when you talk about if you're marketing to other marketers who understand what a webinar is, there's probably going to be a common understanding that at the end of the webinar, for 20 minutes, you're going to try and sell them something. But if you do like what I did, and I'm sure a lot of your audience does, they don't sell probably to marketers and business people. They probably just sell to the common consumer. Like I sell necklaces to Christian women in their 50s in the middle of America. They're not marketers. If I tell them there's going to be a webinar, they're going to go for the webinar. They don't know there's a 20-minute pitch at the end, right? So you also have to understand how sophisticated your market is. When I say sophisticated, I don't mean like smart. I just how up to date are they with this specific type of marketing? And we're usually, as marketers, surrounded by a bunch of other marketers. So we think this is common knowledge when it really isn't common knowledge. Using timers, having formulas on how to write your copy, all of that stuff is not common knowledge. It's actually like you're studying manipulation, and hopefully your manipulation is for something good. But most people don't just go study how to persuade, influence, and manipulate people. That's just not a thing most people do. So I don't want to elaborate too much, but I want to really harp on this, that the timers absolutely work. You just don't want to do it in a market where they know what a timer is there for, right? You know what I mean?
Yep, that's a very valid point. Yeah, because I think probably like when I said this thing, because I'm surrounded by marketer or tech savvy people, and for them it's a very common thing. So yeah, but then like the example that you took, like a woman in their 50s, for them internet is still an alien thing. Yeah,
Yeah,
it is, yeah.
absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
that's a very good point. Yes, like I mean, I think it again boils down to how well you understand your audience. Like I mean, if you understand your audience's marketing, you will never use timers on your landing pages. But then if your audience is someone who is not very tech savvy, haven't seen all these timers or different forms on the landing pages, you'll probably use one of them and then convert them to a customer. Yeah.
Absolutely. 100%.
All right. So that's wonderful insight. Yeah, I think that is something that I also I just missed, and I think I mean the basic thing that we tend to miss in our daily life is like understand your audience, understand your customer. Everything boils down to that. So yeah, uh,
It's very true. I mean, a
absolutely.
lot of people don't even like
Mm-hmm,
we surveyed our audience for one of my clients, Dave.
mm-hmm,
He sells a dating product
mm-hmm,
on how to teach men how to get with women. And his product that we were selling initially just wasn't working. It really wasn't
mm-hmm,
working at the level we wanted it. So we asked his audience. I'm usually not a fan of surveys because what people
mm-hmm,
say and how they behave are usually two very different things. But we surveyed his
absolutely.
audience anyway, and
Mm-hmm,
they told us what they wanted, and we basically just
mm-hmm.
put that product together, gave it to them, and now it's a very well it's a really good converting offer. So you do have to listen to your audience. Sometimes they'll just tell you what they want.
All right. Yeah. So continuing to the last question, one of the questions I also have that this question plus like the audience also has it. So just like I mean, copywriting as a version is great, but then after a point everything becomes stagnant or boring. Or so how do you like keep your copy fresh, or like how do you go about testing your copies, be it for landing page or say ads, right? Like I mean, so is it similar to how you do CRO for your landing pages and different items on your landing pages, or like when it comes to copy, the process of testing it is different? Like how do you go about it here?
Well, the most important thing before you do the copy is making sure the offer is really good. You
Mm-hmm,
can't really, I mean, you can, I guess, to a degree, but you can't really sell something if the offer isn't hot.
mm-hmm,
For example, like get this energy drink for free plus shipping. That's your offer. That's a pretty good offer. Get it for free,
mm-hmm.
just cover shipping and handling. Right? That's a pretty decent offer. If
Yeah.
we know that the offer is working for the most part, and it was working, and then there's the copy got tired and just isn't working as well.
Mm-hmm,
Sometimes what I'll do is I'll just change the headline first. That's usually the first thing I change, just to see if
mm-hmm,
we can get more people to pay attention to this. After I test the headline, and if that worked or didn't work, the next thing I usually like to test is the offer, because it really comes down to that. If people are just so tired of the same free plus shipping offer, you may have to switch it to like buy one get two free, or
yeah.
buy one get one free. Just change up the offer a little bit, maybe repackage it. And if that doesn't work, then
Mm-hmm.
I actually just change the product.
Yeah.
That's usually how I test it, because you can test the copy as many different ways as you want.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's not, if it's just not, where if you're spending $100 a day and making $5, there's no amount of copy that's going to help that. More than likely, uh, what it is it's changing the product and changing the offer.
Yeah, that's a very valid point. Yeah. So again, going to this thing, I mean, I think my question would continue from the previous one. Like I'm so I think so. Ad copy for landing page is one thing. Ad copy for ads is one thing. But then there are different marketing materials. Like I mean, I know probably e-commerce businesses may not use them, but in general, let's say we talk about normal businesses, right? There are different type of marketing materials that are there, right? So
Email.
yeah, email is there. The best one is yeah, email is there. Yeah. So in that case, like I mean, when you because copywriting, I would say it's a mix of science and creativity, right? Like I mean, you need, when it comes to science, like you need to understand the psyche of your customer. Like I mean, how do they
Mhm.
think? Where do they? What all things they are? Like probably you need to be a step ahead of your customer if you want to really come up with a great copy, right? So when it comes
One of
to, yeah, sorry, go on.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but just right when you said that, I kind of felt like it'd be cool to share people how they can get in the mind of their customers. So when you talk about being right a step ahead of them, kind of, or it's just being right where they are
Mhm.
right then and there in their frame of mind, right? And so the way I usually get into the mindset of my customer is I go on this website called Reddit. I don't know
Mhm.
if you guys have heard of it. You
Yeah.
probably have.
Mhm.
Go to Reddit, type in whatever your niche is, your offer, and look at the problems that people are talking about, because
Mhm.
most people will complain on Reddit about their problems and they'll share elaborate stories about what happened. And what
Mhm.
you can do now is take all that information and write your own copy with it, or what I'll usually do is I just copy and paste it all onto my sales page and I clean it up a little so it fits my agenda, which is sell this, for example. But I take their pain and their real story and I just put it on my sales page or my landing page, because I know that's going to resonate with them, because it had like 1,000 upvotes or whatever it's called. And
Right.
it was a
Right.
very popular complaint that people talked about, which means it's probably something common. And so that's how you can get into the headspace of your customer very, very quickly.
Yeah, that's a really good hack. Like, I mean, if we really want to use that marketing lingo, that's a really good hack. Like
Yeah.
understanding and getting a sense of what the basically the starting point of your copy. That could be the starting point of your copy, right? Another thing, in continuation with the testing process, like, I mean, when you're testing multiple things, or when you're testing one after another, like at what point, like, I mean, how do you decide, and at what point you decide that yes, this copy, the life of this particular copy is over now, you have to like completely switch over to a new copy, or like what is that point? Because as a marketer, I have also faced this multiple times, that like the copy that we had on landing page 2 years back, we were testing it continuously, we are changing it now and then, but uh, copy and design refresh, those are two components of a landing page, right? It's like, so when do you decide, and based on what factors do you decide that yes, this is the time to completely revamp the copy with the design? Or so basically those factors, like what are
Yeah.
those leading indicators that you look for?
Usually I don't change the design is usually complementing the copy. And
Mm-hmm.
it's usually like if you have a really good designer,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a designer. That's
Uh-huh.
not even how I think usually. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna be able to give the best advice on
Yeah.
that. But
Uh-huh.
usually design stuff doesn't have to change. It's usually the copy that's got to change, because no one is going to necessarily buy because of the design. They're going to buy because that design amplifies the copy, which means the copy is what's really doing the selling,
Yep.
right? So you got to make sure that the copy's changing. But with that said, is I I may get a little bit too specific, but this is how I guess I think of it. So if we're spending some money on ads and we're
Mm-hmm.
getting any kind of profitability, I usually won't even change the copy. If we're profitable on the front
Mm-hmm.
end, that's incredible, because I always have back end stuff set up. I'm always going to have a membership set up. I'm always going to have high ticket. There's always something on the back end for us. So if we can get people for break even or for a little bit of money, I don't mess with the copy.
Uh-huh.
I don't do it. My buddy Ryan Stuman, who I used to write copy for, he talks about he's going to use it. I'll mess up his example, but essentially it's like marketers are like these guys who love cars and they try to soup up their car and fix up their car and put another thing on it and add some more horsepower, and they're just doing so much to this freaking car it eventually falls apart. What was
Mm-hmm.
a great car that was working eventually fell apart because you just did all this nonsense to it.
Nonsense. Yeah.
And so if you have a funnel that's working, which means it's
Mm-hmm.
breaking even and you're building a back end customer list, or it's making a little bit of money, don't mess with it, because
Right.
you could just screw it up.
Exactly.
Some
Right.
people
Yeah.
would say test it, maybe you can improve results. That's not my belief. Mine is
Uh-huh.
leave it alone. If it
Uh-huh.
falls below break even, you now have to make a judgment call. Is it below break even, but I'm still making more money on the back end? Maybe you still don't have to fix anything,
Mm-hmm.
right? But if
Yep.
you're losing money at this point, or you think you're going down the path of like, if this continues to happen
Mm-hmm.
and the costs continue to rise, my customers continue to go down, et cetera, over the next few weeks, I'm going to get into the negative. Now we got to get into testing mode. Okay, well, now we got to switch some stuff up to make sure that we don't end up in that situation. So you don't want to be, in my opinion, the marketer that's continuously testing every single day, changing it, because you never establish a real result. And there's got to
Absolutely.
be a point where you have
Mm-hmm.
to have something that's kind of just running. And
Mm-hmm.
if you're always testing it and changing it, you don't ever have something that's fully running. It's always going to go up in waves and down in waves.
Yeah.
You're just like, sometimes you just need to let it ride, and you know it's eventually going to crash. Wait until it starts dipping, and that's when you start testing.
Yeah, that's a wonderful advice, I would say. Yeah, because I have seen, like, not just with me, like even in the fellow marketeers that I have in my circle, like, I mean, we all tend to, like, so we all are so obsessed with the data that we just start testing each and everything which is there on the page just to get the best version of it, and sometime in the process we screw up thing, and then we again go back to the zero. But
Yeah, I mean, that energy is actually better suited towards figuring out how can we squeeze out more profit from the same customer on the back end. If
yeah.
you're going to be testing, as long as you're, like I said, profitable or
Mhm.
break even on the front end, your job shouldn't be how do I fix the front end. There's people who can't even make a front end break even. So if you've got that, you're
Mhm.
winning. Now, if you're not making money, now we got to work on the back end. It doesn't require more testing on the front end. It requires making that back end more systematic and squeezing as much profit as we can out of every single customer.
That makes sense totally. Yeah. Another thing that I mean, I believe that, like, if someone is an expert at something, I think the best way is to reach out to that person and get the work done. But then cost is also a factor for a few people, right? So let's say, I mean, let's talk about the other segment wherein, like, people are just starting off with, they are, like, on very tight budget, and they initially they want to do everything on their own, right?
Yeah.
For those kind of people, like, I mean, I know, like, I mean, they can't be, they can't, I mean, they can, but, like, not in that short frame of time they can not become an expert. But, like, let's say if you have to advise someone, let's say, who's just starting off with this with the store and is on tight budget, what are the initial few tips that you would probably suggest them, that if they are starting off with their copywriting, or say ad writing, ad copywriting?
Right. Well, the first thing is, and I know this book has nothing to do with Shopify necessarily. It's more
Mhm.
about ClickFunnels. But I
Mhm.
think buying Russell Brunson's book, .com Secrets,
Uh-huh.
is a really good book. I would have recommended Dane Kennedy and a lot of these other guys that I like listening to that maybe, in my
Mhm.
opinion, a little bit more savvy and whatnot. But
Mhm.
but Russell Brunson's .com Secrets, it's current, it's modern, it's got very step-by-step explanations of what a funnel is and what marketing is. And I think starting there, if you're completely new, is going to give you a solid foundation, because if you end up hiring an expert, you're not going to understand half the words they're going to say. They're going to talk about CTRs and
Mhm.
open rates and this and that. And you're going to be like, what? I don't even know what that means, right? So the first step is understanding the lingo and having a solid foundation. I think the book .com Secrets does a really good job of doing that. The next
Mhm.
thing I would do is just become entrenched and just dive into all the YouTube videos I can related to Shopify and funnels and all this stuff. Give yourself like a month of just
Mhm.
absorbing all of the content before you even apply anything. Because I'm assuming the person you're talking about would be someone completely new and they just don't have the
Absolutely.
money.
Yep.
So the worst part is getting the money and then not even knowing anything about the marketing space. So you end up hiring guru and expert after expert after expert, and they just take your money and you're not happy. But that's also because you're not informed enough to hire the right person. So the first thing is you just have to get that fundamental, know what you need, because you don't know what you need when you're first starting. But after you read that .com Secrets book and watch all the videos and all this cool stuff, which is for free on YouTube, right? Except for the .com Secrets book,
Yep.
which is probably like $10 or something. But it's very inexpensive. It's going to give you a great like wealth of knowledge in this space. And then when you do end up wanting to hire people, if you end up going down that route, you'll know what to look for, because like Russell Brunson will say, you have to have this, you have to have this, and at least you'll have a model. So I like that. The other thing I'll say is, if you don't have money, that's never an excuse. I'll give
Yep.
you a reason. See, I came from like a brick and mortar business, which means we had to pay rent for a physical location to have a
Yep.
business. And I didn't have money, and my buddy Vit did not have money. And so he and I did what most people do. We borrowed money and
Yep.
we got loans and we did different things and we took a risk, because usually entrepreneurs are known for being risk takers. So if you
Absolutely.
don't have money, you have to be a problem solver and be okay with taking a risk, but you don't want to necessarily take that risk without having a fundamental knowledge, right? So
Absolutely.
get
Yeah.
yourself that fundamental knowledge from the book and the YouTube videos and all that for like a month or two. And then if you got the courage, go get a loan from the bank, go get a
Yep.
loan from your grandma, your aunt, your uncle, your friends, go do whatever you can to get the money. But not having the money is a
It's
very
not
weak excuse
absolutely.
if you're
Yeah.
trying to level up your life. No one
Yeah.
cares that you didn't have the money. I didn't
Yeah.
have the money when I was 25, and so we borrowed a bunch of money, and it was scary. I don't know what to say.
Yeah. I know.
And it
I
didn't
can
work.
complete.
It didn't work. And so we failed and did it again and again and again, and then it finally worked. So if you're going to go down this path, you just understand that's an avenue. You can borrow money. That's actually what
Absolutely.
most entrepreneurs did
Yeah.
before the internet. So,
Right. Yeah.
you know.
Absolutely agree. Like I think the risk taking factor is a very important point that you have just mentioned, because thing is like you just can't be successful every single time. Like there is a process to it. You'll probably fail 10 times before you actually get to that success point, right? And
Yeah.
that's a very scary stage to be at, right? Like you have to go through that failure again and again, and then at the back of your mind you have you'll always have that I have to pay this money back to the people I have taken from or borrowed from, right? So yeah, that's a scary
Yeah.
process. But I think that's a very valid point, that if you really want to do something, those excuses shouldn't be the thing that should
Yeah.
stop you or
And
somewhere.
there's
Yeah,
no better time than now. Not
absolutely.
because of it being 2020 or the internet, but we're all getting older. So if you do this tomorrow, you're going to have a slight disadvantage than you did today, because today you had a little bit more energy because
Energy.
you're a
Yeah,
little bit younger, just a little
absolutely.
bit. So
Yeah.
you compound this procrastination for 10, 15 years,
Hmm.
you're going to get to the point to where you no longer have the energy and the drive to
Hmm.
push through the adversity. So the sooner you get, regardless of age, it will always be better than later.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Getting closer to death so while you're alive.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Not trying to be grim, just trying to
Right.
be real.
Yeah, one needs to be realistic. Like you just can't always be in dreams and like, yeah. So
There
my
we go. It
next,
froze
yeah,
for a little bit. We're back.
yeah, no problem, no problem. So my next question is more about like I think you have kind of covered that in your previous question, but like, so let's say someone has started and someone has reached to a stage wherein they can afford to hire good writers, copywriters, and everything. But right now, when you look at, like, you go on internet, there is so much noise out there when it comes to copywriting. Like hundreds of people are selling out their courses. Like everyone is calling themselves gurus and everything, right? So yes, I know, like someone has a basic understanding of how does it work and the lingo that people are using out there, but still, like at that stage, even like yes, someone has the money, but then one has to use that money very wisely, right? So in that case, like how do you, like what would be your advice to someone who is looking to hire a copywriter? How do they differentiate between it? What are the things one should look for, and how do they differentiate between a good or a scammy? Like I don't know whether scammy is the right word, but then a good
Yeah,
or
but I see.
an average. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so it's going to come down to how informed you are. You're not going to know if someone is good or bad
Hmm.
unless you know what good copy or bad copy looks like. And so
Hmm.
reading that book, that'll give you a decent understanding, the dot-com secrets one. I have a book called the Copywriting Playbook. It's like $9 or something on Amazon. There's
Hmm.
another book, very good. It's a little bit more expensive, but it's very good. It's
Hmm.
about, I don't really know what it costs, maybe 40 or 50 bucks, but it's like an 80-page book. It's very
Hmm.
short, no fluff, very good
Uh-huh.
though. By Evaldo Albuquerque. It's called the 16-word sales letter, I think.
Uh-huh.
Um, I don't know him. I don't get paid to promote his stuff,
Yeah.
but it's a really good sales letter writing book.
Uh-huh.
So as long as you'd have, say, the dot-com secrets book, my little book for $9, a copywriting playbook,
Hmm.
and Evaldo's book, the 16-word sales letter, those three books will give you a really solid understanding. Evaldo goes into a lot of questions that should be asked and answered throughout copy in a certain structure. I give you templates and examples of sales pages, and then the dot-com secret one goes over a lot of the overall strategy. So I think between those three books, there's obviously a bunch more you can get. They're
Yep.
really good.
Yep.
But I think between those three books, it will give you a solid understanding and foundation of what good copy could be like, and then you can kind of make your best pick. The worst thing is to just go start trying to hire a copywriter without understanding what a headline is, or what scarcity and urgency and some of these elements that go into copy. Because
Uh-huh.
if you are that uninformed, it means anybody, regardless of their skill level, can sell you because they automatically know more than you, right? And so you don't need to be that, you know, person.
Well, yeah. Right.
Be
So
informed.
yes. Yeah. All right. That's a very, because I think I have been through this problem. I have faced this problem. Like I think, if I remember it correctly, a couple of years back when I was looking for someone to write the copy for our website. That's when I was going through the process, and it was like there is so much noise out there. Like it is very it gets very difficult to. This is when I'm a marketer, right? So
Hmm.
imagine someone who doesn't understand the marketing lingo and very new and starting off with their business and already very scared about all the things that he or she is facing on daily basis, right?
Something else you can do is go to whoever your favorite copywriter is, even if you can't afford them, and ask them if
Mhm.
they can recommend somebody that's
Mhm.
within your budget, and just give them your budget.
Yeah.
Maybe if it's too cheap, they don't know anybody, but at
Mhm.
least ask them, because I do that all the time. Sometimes people come to me, I quote them like 25,000. They say I can't afford $25,000. I say,
Mhm.
okay, well, what's your budget?
Mhm.
Okay, this is your budget. I have 100 copywriters in my mentorship. I'll pass it to them. And now you have a bunch of copywriters that are at least trained by me or trained by whoever you go to. And now you can get some copy that's going to be halfway decent, at least, right? It's not going to be maybe the highest A level copy because you can't afford it, but it's
Mhm.
still going to be something along the lines of what you're looking for, and it's not going to break the bank.
Right, right. That's a very wonderful point, I would say, because yeah, I think one of the reasons why people can't get to a good writer is basically the network. Like I mean, they just try to reach out to one, two. They look at the budget. The moment they see that it is out of their budget, they just stop the process then and there, right? But like I mean,
Yeah.
going that step further, ask even if this person is not in your budget, asking them the way you mentioned it, right? I think that's a very wonderful tip. Yeah. All right, I think I have covered most of the question. The one I know, like I mean, it is more. It depends on multiple factors, but uh, I'll still ask this question because this is one of the questions that we have received from multiple people, right? Uh, Long form copy and the short form copy. This is probably the evergreen question when it comes to copywriting, and it is going to be the evergreen question probably for say next 50 years, right? But how do you approach this? Like I mean, I know, because I mean it all depends on the testing and the understanding of your market and and then your readers and everything, right? But then uh, where do you see long form copies work best versus where do you see short form copies they work best?
Yeah, good question. So short form copy usually works best, like we were talking about, when you sell a physical product of some kind, because there's
Hmm.
already intrinsic value there.
Hmm.
It's a energy drink. Like you already
Yeah.
have value. You don't need to go into a 30-page sales letter
Yeah.
selling that,
Hmm.
right? You also have to know if you're selling something for money or selling like an appointment. For example, if you're selling somebody to buy a package for, $50 or $100 or a thousand
Hmm.
bucks, anything that's going to require them to buy something that's not
Hmm.
physical, that's going to be coaching or a PDF or videos or whatever, usually that requires a long copy, because you need a lot of copy to overcome possible objections, because we can't talk to them, so we don't know what they're really, we don't know all of their objections, and we don't know which bullet point we talk about is going to resonate with them, so we want to include all of that stuff,
Hmm.
right? So you do that. But then if you're selling a free phone call, you actually don't need like a 30-page sales letter, and
Yep.
instead like 10 or 15-minute video sales letter, which is like half the copy of what a normal sales page would be, for example.
Hmm.
That usually works well because it'll keep with their attention, but it's also going to, I mean, you just don't need that much selling, because there's nothing that, there's just not that much selling. It's like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
what do they want? Over, give them some stories and testimonials so they know it's true with the big claim.
Hmm.
Give them a call to action. Get on a call with you. Tell them what they're going to expect, and that's about it. I mean, there's no. It's almost like a big long explainer video that has a claim, testimonials, and a call to action. So I guess if I'm going to put this into some kind of reasonable answer without going in circles, long copy is better when you're selling an actual product that
Hmm.
is digital,
Hmm.
right? If we were to generalize it, I guess. And then shorter copy is going to be best whenever you're selling something that's physical,
Physical. Right.
or doesn't require them to fork over money right away. All they
Mhm.
have to do is schedule a phone call, for
Right.
example. And then with your Facebook ads, long copy is usually best when you're sending people to a webinar or to buy something high ticket,
Mhm.
or maybe you're trying to qualify them before a phone call. If you're sending, so this is So if you're sending people to a video that's going to be a little bit shorter, but to book a phone call, your Facebook ad should be a little bit longer to qualify them.
Mhm.
But if you're selling a physical product, again, that Facebook ad should only be that yes question and a call to
Right.
action, very short. Hopefully
Uh,
that answers it.
yeah, it does. It does definitely. Yeah. So you just mentioned about like the two categories, like but just like a question that popped up in my mind right now. Like, so yeah, I mean the long copy for Facebook ads for webinars when you are selling high ticket items, right? Uh, so when you're deciding on writing, say, a short form copy and a long form copy, right? Do you also kind of look at the price tag? Like I mean, for say items that are below a certain dollar value, right? Should you like just focus on writing short copy and trying to convert them, and then all high ticket items should be supported by long form copy, something like that?
No, not necessarily, because one of my best offers that I did for myself was a $7.96
Mhm.
video course, essentially. And that had like 6,000 words of copy. It was a very long
Wow.
sales page to sell it, but it was a digital product. It had no physical anything. I was just selling my credentials, my
Mhm.
expertise, and the coolness of this video. So I needed long copy. It was converting way better. So it's not necessarily the price that makes a difference. Many
Mhm.
times the price will mean you have to write more copy, but not always. Like a $49 uh, digital product that's on ClickBank is still going to require a 5,000, 6,000 plus word sales page. That's long copy, and it's
Right.
only $49.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. I think that's where I had this confusion. Like, should I invest more in copy when it's a high ticket item versus a low ticket item? Yeah. I think
Yeah.
yeah, I'm probably done with all the questions. I just if I remember correctly, during one of the answers you mentioned about the copywriting book, that you have your own copywriting book, like, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Uh,
called the Copywriting Playbook
all right.
on Amazon.
All right, perfect. So what we can probably do is, because I think copywriting is important, and if that is one of the starting point for people, I think we can just put that as a starting point for our group members. Like, I mean, we can promote
Cool.
that, and yeah, we do not want any incentive or any cut. Yeah, and that definitely deserves more for. Yeah, I think
I
that's one
appreciate
thing
it.
that is one thing that we can definitely do. And then, is there anything that you think, like, I mean, it could be like, I mean, an offer or something that, like, I mean, we can send out traffic to your course or something, which is like, but definitely it has to be related to Shopify and e-commerce businesses, right? Like, yeah, we can do that
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, I don't have a course for anyone to buy specifically for like Shopify or
Mhm.
anything like that. If anybody wanted us to write copy for their business, they can reach
Mhm.
out to me. Either I'll write it, and if I'm not a good fit for whatever reason, I know 100 plus of them in my mentorship I can refer you to. So there's that, and then just go get the book, the Copywriting Playbook on Amazon. It's like $9 or $10, and it'll be a good deal for you.
All right, all right. So yeah, what I'll do is, like, I'll ask Sohail to put a post about your book, and, like, I mean, if someone is looking to hire copywriter or looking to get in touch with copywriters, you can be the first point of contact. And then if you guys can work together, that's great. If not, then get they can be redirected to someone else via you. Yeah.
Absolutely, 100%.
Perfect. Yeah. Thanks, man. I mean, I'm done with all my questions and all the questions that we collected from the community. I really appreciate it. I mean, this is like not just for these people. I think this particular session, I would say, well, had great insights, and I definitely learned a few things that I wasn't aware of being a marketer. Yes, I'll say it openly that yes, even though I have 7 years of experience in marketing, but then definitely I learned a few new stuff things today. Yeah.
Awesome.
And again, thank you so much for your time. I know it's probably afternoon, almost your lunchtime.
Yeah, almost, almost. That's all
Almost your
right.
lunch.
But hey, I appreciate you having me on here as well. It was an honor, and I thank you again. I appreciate it.
Thanks, man. And let's be in touch. I think we can do great things together. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Absolutely.
You have a great rest of your day. Bye bye.
You too, man. I'll talk to you soon.
Sure. Bye.